I consider Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez to be the leader of the Democratic Party. She's entitled to her opinion. I'm entitled to mine. As I've said about her before, I think she's the reason there are directions on a shampoo bottle. And our plan for dealing
you didn't plan that out. We got to hurry.
Our plan for dealing with her is called Operation Let Her Speak. But I don't think Senator Schumer is the person in charge, because Senator Schumer is not the leader of the socialist wing of his party. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez is. She's running the show. It was no accident the other day the Congresswoman let it slip. She said, if you really want to negotiate an end of this shutdown, come see me.
In politics, the loudest mouths are almost always the ones sprinting away from reality. And tonight, my friends, that reality is spilling over the edges. So grab whatever keeps your pulse steady, coffee, whiskey, a glass of water, bubbly champagne, because what's coming is going to lock you to your seat, just like Senator John Kennedy locked eyes on the real problem. He didn't just swipe at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez over the shutdown chaos. He went scorched earth. And yes, he fired off that savage jab claiming she's the reason shampoo bottles come with written instructions. Like, subscribe and stick around till the final seconds, because trust me, you'll want to see where this ride ends. So buckle up, folks, because if you thought Washington had already hit rock bottom on the stupidity scale, Kennedy just dragged this shutdown circus into the bright daylight and exposed every ridiculous inch of it. He didn't sugarcoat a syllable. He flat out called it what it is, brain-numbing idiocy. And honestly, after watching this swamp for decades, I've never seen a shutdown that screams political performance louder than this one.
Well, the shutdown melodrama continues. I love the smell of melodrama in the morning. It smells like the United States Senate. I said the other day that this shutdown is just further proof that human evolution is a slow process. This shutdown, what you're witnessing now, is just further proof of why it took human beings thousands of years to learn how to stand upright. This shutdown is bone deep, down to the marrow, stupid. Some shutdowns are based on policy. Some shutdowns are based on politics. Some shutdowns are based on a combination of both. This one is pure. It's pure as ivory snow. This shutdown is based on politics. Let me tell you what's going on. I believe in a two-party system, Mr. President. Why? Because two parties create competition. And competition makes all of us better. It does. The Democratic Party, the opposite of my party, the Republican Party, the Democratic Party is competing within itself right now. And there is a distinct wing of the Democratic Party that is winning that competition. If I wanted to use a pejorative expression, I would call it the loon wing of the party. The loon wing of the Democratic Party. Or you might call it the Bolshevik wing of the Democratic Party. I think a more accurate description is to call it the socialist wing of the Democratic Party. I think that's fair. Now, I'm not saying that all of my Democratic friends are socialists, but there is clearly a wing of the Democratic Party that can only be described accurately as the socialist wing of the party. And that party is in ascendancy. That party is in control. Now, my friend Senator Schumer is the leader of the Democrats in the United States Senate, and he, of course, has instructed his colleagues to vote to shut down government. And Senator Schumer has been criticized for that, and I understand. I don't agree with him. I think he made a mistake. But I don't think Senator Schumer is the leader of this effort. I don't. I think Senator Schumer, like many of his colleagues, would like to be loved by everybody in the party, and he would like to be loved by the socialist wing of his party. And I do think that's part of what is motivating this shutdown, and that's why I say it's all about politics. Any fair-minded person has to look right now and say that the two leading members, the quarterback, the two leading members of the socialist wing of the Democratic Party, the quarterback is Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez. Now, her substitute is Senator Bernie Sanders, but I think it's the Congresswoman who's calling these shots. Now, Mr. President, I don't hate anybody. I've said that repeatedly, and I mean it. I like all of my colleagues. I look for grace wherever I can find it. When I say my prayers, I do, every single time. I ask God, don't let me hate, because it's hard sometimes. It's hard up here. But I do. I say, God, don't let me hate. And I certainly don't hate Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez. I want to make that very clear. She has the right to her opinion. She has the right to try to have the socialists take over the Democratic Party. That's the American way. Ironically, I think what she's doing is anti-American, but she has the right as an American to do it, so I don't hate her. But I judge her by her policy. She has her opinion and I have mine. And I have to judge her candidly by her policy. Here is what the socialist wing of the Democratic Party, led by Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, has said to the American people and to the United States Congress and the Republicans in Congress. If you Republicans don't agree to make the federal government $1.5 trillion, not $1 million, not $1 billion, $1.5 trillion bigger, we're going to shut government down. Well, of course we said no. I'm not going to vote for that. My mother didn't raise a fool. And as I've said before, if she did, it was one of my brothers. I'm never going to vote for that. Now, where do I come up with this figure of $1.5 trillion? Well, the first thing that the socialists and Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez is asking us to do is to repeal the health care reforms in the One Big Beautiful Bill. We just passed them. We just passed them. Here it is, Subtitle B, Health, in the One Big Beautiful Bill. Now, we didn't cut Medicaid in the One Big Beautiful Bill. In fact, under our bill, Medicaid is going to increase 2% a year over the next 10 years. Now, what we did by reforming Medicaid, which Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez wants us to reverse, we cut out the waste and the fraud. For example, we found out that there are, no kidding, I'm not just making this up, we found out that there are 2.8 million people on Medicaid who are double dipping in America. They're either signing up for Medicaid in Louisiana and Mississippi, double dipping, or they're signing up for Medicaid in Louisiana and they're signing up for the Obamacare subsidies. That's called cheating. Our bill would put an end to that, and it would save about $140 billion on 10 years. The socialist wing of the Democratic Party and Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez want us to reverse that. The second thing we did in our health care reforms in the One Big Beautiful Bill is to say you've got to stop lying when you apply for Medicaid. Under President Obama, we had virtually no eligibility checks. People could walk in and the Medicaid folks would say, how much do you make a year? And they could say $30,000 a year. And they'd say, okay, you qualify. Now, I trust people. I've said it before on this floor. I play cards with my friends all the time. They're friends. I cut the cards anyway. We have found, for example, just in Louisiana, we did a statistical sample of the people on Medicaid in Louisiana. Our auditors found 1,600 people on Medicaid making $100,000 a year or more. That's cheating. So our bill put an end to that.
Senator John Kennedy spells it out with zero fluff. This is not about funding the government or delivering for the American people. This is Democrats tearing each other apart while the far left wing grabs the wheel and stomps the gas. And according to Kennedy, the one calling the plays, drawing up the moves, and acting like the star quarterback is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez herself. He says Chuck Schumer isn't running the show. He's just babysitting the socialist base, trying to keep them from rioting. Meanwhile, AOC is out there flexing, telling everyone, if you want a deal, come talk to me. That's not leadership. That's ego dressed up as ideology. Then Kennedy starts rattling off the wish list. Undoing Medicaid reforms meant to stop fraud, freezing eligibility checks, killing work requirements for healthy adults, pumping up Obamacare subsidies for people making six-figure salaries, and stuffing the bill with over $1 trillion in pet projects, including foreign media cash and etiquette classes for male prostitutes in Haiti. You couldn't script this insanity if you tried. And then came the quote that sent Democrats scrambling for the exits. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has single-handedly ended dumb blonde jokes and is the reason there are instructions on a shampoo bottle. That wasn't a dig, that was a political grenade. Kennedy made it clear he doesn't hate her personally, but he obliterated her agenda. And he's not wrong. Americans are worn out from being used as bargaining chips by a bloc demanding $1.5 trillion just to keep the lights on. Republicans are pushing a clean, continuing resolution. No backroom gimmicks, no stuffed pork, just keep the government functional. But the AOC faction is saying, hand us everything or watch the country shut down. That's not negotiation. That's ideological hostage-taking